All right, we got a new tool in our shop, and I'm going to do a quick review on this tool, and there's already reviews out there that are several years old. So this is 2017, and it's about a welder. It's about which welder should I get for my shop or home, and what should I do. I've done some extensive research on the internet about welders. And before we go any further, let me show you the three welders that I was looking at. The first one I looked at was the Miller Multimatic 211 Mig Welder with advanced auto settings. Now, the features and the technology of today is much better than the welder that I bought close to 20 years ago. So I needed a welder that I can do a job on. I have a big job coming in my shop, and Minnie the body shop girl is actually going to be welding. So I wanted to buy a small welder that I can use for a second welder. Now, I really wasn't interested in arc welding and TIG welding, and I wanted to get a welder that I can use on 110 or 220 volt. So this was the first welder that I looked at, and I read the specs on it. The price was $11.79 on sale. You can see that right there. And then when I started reading the tech tips on the welder, I came down to the section here. Where are we at? Let's see, we're going to go back up. We're going to go to the specs. And when I went to the spec page on here, I noticed that the problem that we have is that it only accepts 030 and 035 wire, no 023. And since I do a lot of sheet metal welding, 023 is great for that. And I don't like to own a welder that I can't use 023 with, because I just use 023. That's my main wire that I use. So I was kind of concerned about that. I called the tech over there at the place that I was going to buy it, and he said, well, all you got to do is change the sleeve inside the gun. Now, why would I want to go ahead and spend $1,200 on a welder, then have to change the sleeve out, and then buy a set of rollers so I can weld? So basically that welder was out of the question, and it wouldn't serve for my purposes. The next welder that I looked at was the Power Mig 210 MP multi-process welder aluminum 1-pack. Now, the reason that I like this one is because of the price. The price on this welder, if we look right there, on sale was $14.59, and you get the spool gun, the aluminum spool gun with it. And I liked this welder a lot. I read all the features about it. It seemed like it would work for what I wanted to. But then I started thinking, when I started researching this welder here, because this is actually a multi-processor, that means that you can do stick, TIG, MIG, and spool welding with it. If we look right here, let me get a pen, I want to show you this. And I don't have this welder to show you, but I'm going to show you right here. When you flip your door open right here in this area, there is a plug right there underneath the roller setup where the wire comes out, what goes into here. And on that plug, you take that plug off, and then you got to buy a special adapter for your TIG setup. And then you got to literally take this front cover off yourself, wire that thing up in there, install that item right in there so you can actually TIG weld with the machine. So I didn't like that idea, and the thing was, I started thinking, well, I'll never TIG weld anyway, and for $1,459 to get the spool gun and the welder was a pretty good deal. I watched some videos on YouTube, and it seemed like it was a nice welder, and it did accept 023 wire. But the problem was, I was still concerned that if I ever want to TIG weld, I'm going to have that problem with hooking that up, and it's going to be a real nightmare. Now, one thing about buying this welder, and other thing that interested me more than the Miller, is that I can go to Home Depot, I can go to Northern Tool, I can go to Lowe's and buy my nozzles and my tips and everything I need for my Lincoln welder, because all three of those places supply Lincoln and sell Lincoln products. Unlike Miller, if you own Miller and you live out in the sticks, you have to order that stuff online or go to a welding supply store that, yeah, you get the idea. So then I started researching the Miller Matic 215 auto set multi-processor welder. And this price here was $14.49, but you don't get a spool gun with this. You don't get a spool gun, you don't get nothing but what you see here, which is arc welding and MIG welding. Now, this welder here will accept 025 wire, and 023 is basically the same as 025. I am a Miller man. My other welder is a Miller. I used to have a Miller Synchrowave 250 TIG welder. I never had problems with any of the Miller welders I had, and I've never owned a Lincoln. So I started thinking to myself, after I read all of the specs on this, and we won't go through them. If you want to look at the specs on every individual item, that's fine. But I did notice that, let's see, where are we at here? The weld thickness was the same. The TIG thickness was all the same. The stick thickness was the same. Everything was the same on the processors. But when I started looking over here, and I'm going to try to find it, there was something different on this welder versus the, let's see, what do we have here? I think it was the amperage. No, the amperage was the same. Maybe it was the duty cycle. Something was different somewhere that made the Miller welder better than the Lincoln welder as far as using this machine as a production welder and not just a hobby welder. This was more of a heavy-duty machine, and it actually, for my use, this one here actually worked out for the best. So we went with this. Now, I did get the spool gun with it, and I want to show you the spool gun. Where are we at here? Because usually they show the spool gun, and we don't have any spool gun on here. Usually it says other people looked at. Let me try to get the Miller spool gun up and see if we can find that. And if we look right here, here's the spool gun that I bought. It's called a Miller Spoolmate 100 Mig Gun. This is specifically made for aluminum only. It is not made for putting steel wire in and using it for that. So you have to use 100% argon. That means you'll have to have 2 bottles. But the reason that I bought this spool gun, because I'm getting ready to do some artwork that requires aluminum welding to put the panels together and such. So I figured I'd go ahead and get that with the operation. Now, I want to show you the spool gun for the Miller is $260 versus the Power MIG 210 setup comes with the spool gun for $14.59. And since my mind was already made up to go with the Miller Matic 215, I went ahead and ordered the, there it is right there, the Miller Spoolmate 100. Now, they also make a more heavy-duty spool gun, which costs, I believe, $400 or $500. And this one's the 100, and I think the other one is like a 150 or a 250 or something like that. And that one is that one is made for welding a thicker style aluminum, or possibly an aluminum block, or heads, or whatever. So I'm not going to go to that extreme of doing that type of welding. So I went ahead and got the Spoolmate 100 gun with my welder. So this welder here is good for a hobbyist guy at home that's not going to do a lot of welding, that might do little turnabout stuff. And from what I read and I saw, that's actually a very good welder. It's just that I didn't feel comfortable getting the Lincoln welder because it didn't really put out the same characteristics as the, yes, you got it, Miller Matic Multimatic 215, which is a heavier duty built welder and is designed a lot tougher to be more of an industrial welder than just a hobby shop welder. This welder was better for my choice. We're getting ready to do a very, very big job. I'm going to teach Minnie the Body Shop Girl how to weld, and this will be her welder to use for that, because we're going to need 2 welders on that job, continuously welding and doing a big job. The Spoolmate 100 MIG gun that I purchased is for artwork, and for the aluminum artwork that I'm going to do, that is more than enough. But with that item there and this item here together, I ended up spending for these 2 items right here $1,625. Now, I did get a $25 rebate and free shipping from the company that I bought it from. So that knocked the price down, like I said, to $16.25 or $16.08 or some shit like that. But I went ahead and paid the extra $200 or $300 for this item here, and we're going to check it out and see what the situation is, and hopefully it turned out to be a good deal.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
One more thing that you need for your welder, besides buying the welder, is a cart. I was going to buy a Miller cart, but the Miller cart, I believe, was $275. So I went over to Northern Tool and I purchased a cart over there for $124. Now this is a heavier cart. They actually have a cart over there for $79. And this one is actually better buy for your money due to the fact that it's got a door on there to store your stuff. The thing I don't like about this cabinet is that you have to have the key in it, because if I could get it unlocked, okay, the key's not working on my, there it is. Okay, because if you don't lock that door, it'll stay open all the time. So I don't really like that, but the cart itself is very heavy duty, and it'll hold any size bottle that we need for our welder, and we'll be able to roll it around and use it properly. Once again, I bought this because the Miller welder, the Miller cart, was much more expensive, and I don't think anybody has to spend that kind of money just to own a cart to put their welder on. Because I'm here to save cash just like you. If I was a multi-millionaire and I just had money to blow and throw away and didn't give a shit, you know, I don't know. Maybe I would have got the Miller cart and I would have got the cover for it and all this other shit. But I'm not that guy. I'm your guy, the same as you. That's me, trying to save the dollar buck and get the best product for my money. Now, before we open this box, I will tell you that I am not one of these YouTuber fuck asses that get free welders in the mail and free shit. This is a situation that I am doing this for you, the viewer. There are people out there on YouTube that got millions and millions of subscribers that actually Miller will send them a brand new welder, believe it or not. Now, do they get to keep that welder? I don't know. But they get to have that welder to make reviews. I actually get contacted quite often to do reviews on products, and I really don't like to do that for companies, because if you tell the company you're going to do a review, they're going to expect you to do a good review. They're not going to expect you to do a review and then say their product is shitty. And my friend Pete doesn't bullshit and lie, so I don't think that I'm the guy to do reviews on these bullshit products out there for these companies just so I can get something for free. Let's go ahead and open this up, and we're going to give you a review, real review. This is a real review. This isn't a fake review. Like I said, I didn't get this fucking welder for free. I had to pay for it. So let's see what we got. I'm not going to spend a lot of time opening this box up. Basically, I'm just going to open it and see to make sure that it was packed well, stuff like that. We got a manual. That's great. Wow. Okay. Here's our pack with our M100 gun. I think that this is a 12-foot. Okay, that's not the gun. Is that the Mig Gun? No, that's not. Okay, this one, the bag that comes here has our gauges, our hose, and our ground, and our arc welding cable fucking holder, arc welder holder. Here's our Mig Gun right here. Let me get this shit out of the way. Okay, like I said, we're not going to spend a lot of time here. We got our cord right here, and I believe that we'll figure this out in a minute, but there's an adapter that goes on this cord to convert it over to 110. We'll get to that. Here is our 12-foot Mig gun. It looks good. I did read a review, or I saw a YouTube video, and I want to show everybody this. On this particular Mig gun, the tip that is used on this, all right, it's plastic in here, so when it gets real hot, if you notice when we put it on here, let me get it back on, and I want to clarify this up for you because the guy that made that video is a dumbass. All he can do is say bad shit about the product and make a video of it, but I'm going to tell you how to cure that problem in a minute. Once you have the tip on there, there is going to be, it's going to stop just right where your tip is actually inside your nozzle sticking out like it's supposed to be. Well, what that guy was saying is when this gets old and abused, this thing actually starts riding up the shaft and then your tip sticks out of the nozzle. Well, when your tip sticks outside the nozzle, of course it's going to weld like shit because the shielding gas isn't shielding anymore. Now, this is the thing that you want to do to stop that. You want to get yourself a hose clamp. Get a hose clamp, put it on your fucking rod right here where your wire comes out and your tip connects to. Put it up against this, and guess what? You just stopped it from riding up the fucking arm of the fucking welder, and you're still in good condition, sir. Okay, back to what we were talking about. Let's go ahead and grab this welder out of here. Let's see if I can get it. It seems like it weighs approximately 25 or 30 pounds. We're going to take it out of the box. It did have a hole in the box right here. We're going to inspect it for damage. If it's damaged, we will be calling the company up. I don't think it is damaged, but if it is, we know what's going to happen. So here's our power cord. Do we have our adapter? Let's make sure we got our 110 adapter because that's real important because this welder here will be used on 110, not 220. And I don't see an adapter cord anywhere for this. So if I have to buy that extra, I'm going to be kind of pissed off. So I don't see the adapter cord with the fucking machine. Here's our fucking gauges. So I'm already getting pissed because I don't see our adapter cord. All I see in this package here is the arc welder and the ground cable. That's all I'm looking at. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. We're going to check it out in a minute. It does come with a roll of flux. Is this flux core? This is solid wire, not flux core. Okay, 030 wire. There's nothing else in the box. Okay, so here's our welder. It's got a nice little tag on it. That's handy dandy, like we really give a shit about that. Bam, thank you very much. Let's go ahead and look on the inside because there's something I want to show you on the inside of this. If we open it up, we got another piece of paper here. I guess they, yeah, this must be our serial number. Register it for free. Okay, we'll do that later. Who gives a shit about that? I wanted to show you something, and look what I just found. I just found my cord adapter. Thank you very much. I figured it was there somewhere. So we do got that. I can go ahead and calm down. But I want to show you something inside this welder that is more advanced than the Lincoln welder. Now, if you look right here, you can see here is our two plugs for our TIG welding operation. All right, this is our TIG welder, and then this would be our foot control. That is already built into the Lincoln. I'm sorry, it's not built into the Lincoln, and it is built in to the Miller. So that is something that is better advanced and, to me, well worth more money, where I don't have to literally take my whole machine apart and hook it up myself. So if you are planning to do TIG welding with your machine and that's DC only. Just to let you know, you cannot weld aluminum with this machine. The only way you can weld aluminum is with the spool gun. This does not TIG weld aluminum. This is a DC welder only for TIG welding, and you can only weld metal. So back to what I was saying. This is already built in. You don't have to jack around with it. You don't have to buy anything extra. And it's a rock and roll, ready to go situation. Now when you first open the door, you're going to see a little leaflet here. When you roll that down, it's going to give you specific settings. All right, it's going to tell you where to set your settings on your welder for what you're welding for. It's very easy. Here's your steel. You come down here, bam, like this. You understand what I'm saying? We're going to use 024 wire, and we're going to use this material steel at 24 gauge. That's your settings, 15.1, 137. You see how easy that is? So try not to mess this up. For all you beginners out there, that is a very good chart to have. We also see that we are working with this situation here. It's showing you how to hook it up and make sure that everything's proper. Now, another thing that I liked about this welder is that it has the 023 roller and then it has the 3035 roller. I noticed that you can go ahead and put an 11-pound spool on this instead of the little small one. If you want to go ahead and put the small one on, you would take all this jerky shit off, and then you would go ahead and put the small roll on there that comes with the kit. We'll be using the 11-pound spool, which is just great and dandy for us to use because that's what we need. So, let me go ahead and set this thing up. I'm going to go ahead and hook it up with my brand new cart. I still got to get a bottle for my welder. I haven't been over to get a bottle of gas yet. And then I'm going to go get the rest of the stuff we need to do welding with. And then my friend Pete will give you the real story of the deal instead of all this bullshit flim-flam, give me a welder for free and I'll suck your asshole type review. Is what most of these guys do. I'm sorry I was backlit. Is what most of these guys do. Alright, I know you're telling yourself this is bullshit and all the guy's doing is talking and you're probably skipping through the video or you've already clicked off by now because it's boring, but I'm just trying to cover all the angles up from start to finish. So let's go ahead and get this spool gun open and see what's going on with that. Alright, I'm very surprised that when you open it, it actually has another manual. Wow, okay. But, you know, that's really nice of them to do that for people that like to read shit. I'm a hands-on experienced guy, and I like to plug and play myself. One thing I like about this is, well, I'm surprised. I didn't know this came with a case, but it does. And I do like that, because I'm not going to use this all the time. So let's open it up and see what we got. So there's our Spoolmate 100. It comes in a really nice case. I like that. Velcro wrapping. I believe this has a 12-foot cord on it. This is a 12-foot, and then if you get the 250 or whatever, that's a 20-footer. So here's our 12-foot cord. That looks great. We got something right here that we got to hook up. I don't know what the fuck this is, but it says this switch is required for all Miller Multimatic 140s, 140 auto set 180s, and 180 auto sets. I don't know if we need that on ours, but we'll be checking it out. It does come with some extra tips, 2 extra tips and 1 extra nozzle, and the gun is very nice. I'm left-handed. Of course, this is designed for a right-hander, so you can see the wire. If you are left-handed, you're kind of fucked. You'll have to keep going like this to see if your wire's okay or whatever. But I can actually weld with my right hand. I'm ambidextric and can do that, but I'm actually mainly a left-hander. It looks like it's a nice setup. It's comfortable in my hand. It's well balanced. I like the way that it holds in the hand. I feel like I'm in Star Wars with a laser gun and ready to shoot somebody. But we're going to try that out. So far, the Spoolmate 100 seems like it's going to be a nice situation. Now if we can just get all this back in the case like it was, we'd all be happy. I don't know if it's going to go without fucking bending something. Let's see. Nice case, but yeah. All right. Let me get it set up and see what happens.
watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.